So I'm sure we'll experience many unexpected blessings in today's service. Our theme today is unexpected blessings that Joe came up with, which is just delightful. I've had a great time exploring that. And he asked me to speak briefly. So my husband is a poet. And I mentioned last night, I just can't really find the perfect poem for this unexpected blessing. And so then I was unexpectedly blessed with a poem that I will share with you. A dark day makes for a lonely world. Cold water seeps through the cracks and gets everyone's socks wet. A bounced check pays no bills. No thrills are forthcoming. Despair creeps like ice across the waters of northern lakes. At such times, temptations are many, and none of them are good. But over the phone, a scratchy voice calls to say there's help, and it's coming. It's on its way. And the sun cracks the clouds to show the gold in a field of pale stalks. And the curse lifts, at least for a time. In this economy of constant change, the only coin is kindness. Come, my friends, let us worship together.
So the idea for the service came from a conversation I had with a friend of mine about the meeting we had with the Muslim community last week. I was telling my buddy, who is a fairly conservative Christian/Catholic of Lebanese descent, that having the time to chat with Duwad and some of the other men was really lovely. He was curious, of course, about their take on Muslim extremism, because his family is of Middle Eastern descent. I told him that I was surprised at how enjoyable the conversation was, that the entire experience felt like an unexpected blessing. This being a Music Sunday, I have picked 5 songs, all of which in some way begin with a true story, or an actual experience, or a possible true story. Now the idea, that is unexpected. Now the idea of a blessing as opposed to luck is that I think of a blessing as a goodness that is bestowed upon us, either by another person or, if you're a believer, in some divine entity, and I am, by a him/her/God. Of course, in most mystical traditions, God and humanity are so intimately intertwined that a blessing from either is, in a sense, a blessing from both. These songs are all alike in only one way, that each song manifests a blessing upon a person who neither expects it, nor in some cases deserves it. I like this chalice in the hopes of rekindling a curiosity in, as the bumper sticker so aptly says, senseless acts of beauty.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its calling. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
So our story this morning comes from the Jewish tradition. There once was a man who had come to the end of his rope. He was fed up with his life. So he went to his rabbi for advice. "Holy Rabbi," he cried, "things are in a bad way for me in my home. We are poor, so poor that my wife, my 6 children, my in-laws, and I all live in a 1-room house. We get in each other's way all the time. My nerves are frayed and I'm at my wit's end. I would rather die than keep living this way." The rabbi thought very seriously. "My son," he said, "do as I tell you and I promise your condition will improve. Now tell me, what animals do you own?" the rabbi asked. The man said, "Well, I have cows, and this section is going to make cow noises for me when the time comes. I have cows. I have goats. Right. And I have chickens. Very well, says the rabbi. Go home and take all of these animals into your house to live with you. The poor man was shocked and perhaps a little disappointed. But since he promised the rabbi to do what he said, he went home and he brought all of the animals into his home. That night, it sounded like, and he didn't get any sleep at all. So the following day, the poor man returned to the rabbi and said, "Rabbi, what misfortune have you brought upon me? I did as you said. I brought the animals into my house, and now what have I got? Things are worse than ever. Rabbi, my life is a perfect hell. My home is a barn. Please save me." "My son," said the rabbi, "go home and take the chickens out of your house. Put them back in the coop, and God will help you." So the poor man went home. He took the chickens out of his house. Bye, poor chickens. And that night he tried to go to sleep and his home sounded like... And he got slightly more sleep than the night before, but the next day he went running back to the rabbi. "Holy Rabbi, help me, save me. The goat is smashing everything in the house. My life is a nightmare." "Go home," said the rabbi gently, "and take the goat out of the house. Put him back in the pasture, and God will help you." So the poor man returned to his house and removed the goat back to the pasture. And that night when he went to sleep, all that was left was the sound of the cows. But it wasn't long before, where did he go? Back to the rabbi. Yes. "Rabbi, what misfortune have you brought upon my head? The cow has turned my house into a stable. How can you expect a human to live alongside an animal?" "You're right," agreed the rabbi, 100 times right. "Go straight home and put the cow back out to pasture." And the poor man hastened home and took the cow out of his house. And not a day passed before he went running back to the rabbi. "Rabbi," cried the poor man, his face beaming, "you have made my life sweet again. With all the animals out, the house is so quiet and roomy and clean. What a blessing my life is." So with that reminder that things could always be worse than they
May we reach out for help to those around us when it's time to reach out. Let us not hold back. And may we always expect the best of the unexpected. May it be so. Amen. So, Joe asked me to share a very brief sermon today, a homilette, one might say. And I'm seeing that the time is going along and we're running out of time, and it's much more about the music today. So I'm going to shorten my homilette even more for you and just share a brief tale. This is a Sufi tale, an old Sufi story. Parable, really. You see, there's a man walking through the forest, and he sees a fox. And the fox has broken legs and is not able to walk. And he wonders how it is capable of living. Then he saw a tiger come in with game in its mouth. The tiger had had his fill, and he left the rest of the meat for the fox. The next day, God fed the fox by means of the same tiger. The man began to wonder God's greatness, and he said to himself, I too shall rest in a corner with full trust that the Lord will provide me with all that I need. And he did this for many days, but nothing happened. And he was almost at death's door when he heard a voice say, "O you who are in the path of error, open your eyes to the truth. Follow the example of the tiger and stop imitating the disabled fox." That's a brilliant story on so many levels. Our society tells us that we never have enough, that there's always something wrong with us. It is really easy to somehow place ourselves in the disabled fox. And sometimes we are, and we need help. And sometimes we live in that space of being the person who's quite capable. And yet somehow we think that everything is supposed to be provided for us. Yes? Have you ever experienced this? Have you seen others experience this? Maybe some of our children? Certainly, everything is just supposed to fall out of the sky for us. But that perspective is coming from a place of never having enough, never being enough, and always expecting more. And yet the lion comes from a totally different perspective of always being enough, always having enough, and having a generous heart to share. So he creates the unexpected blessings. And those unexpected blessings continue on and continue on. I have a little more that I decided to add to the story. You see, the fox, before he was disabled, saved the lion from a trap. And that was his unexpected blessing. So unexpected blessings are like waves of goodness that go on in the world. And they come back to us in unexpected and amazing ways. Now that's why the lion cares for the fox. May we follow the example of the lion. May it be so.
Amen.